See brown in your face.
Have you heard of Everything at Once?
Do you know about Everything at Once?
It's internationally known.
Aliens listen to it.
It's the best ever.
If there's something you're looking for in the 814, or feeling a little bored and think there ain't no more, check out Everything at Once and allow it to be your source. It's that raw podcast that's always showing support, highlighting the scene. No need to take I-90 to Peep or 79 to see how it be. Interviewing your locals with mindsets that are global. Innovators and creators on every single upload. So much going on in the EPA.
Incredible content.
Everything at Once will keep you up to date.
Amazing guests.
What you doing? Come through and hang with Tony and Dave.
Community driven.
Bringing everything at once from around the way. Everything at once from around the way. Hey.
Please listen. We love you. Everything at Once.
Everything at Once.
It's time to introduce this show.
The best show on the face of the planet.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in today. We want to thank our Patreon producers, Brian G., Josh W., Ian D., Nick G., and Sadie M.
Patreon, it's an awesome way to support the show and say thanks. You can become a Patreon supporter by clicking the link below and choosing to be an intern, assistant, or producer level supporter.
If being on the production team is too much pressure for you, you can also send any contributions using our Venmo at Everything at Once Studios. We now want to thank all the local businesses who supported this episode. These businesses get the Everything at Once stamp of approval and are critical members of the Everything at Once community. We couldn't do it without them. With winter approaching, are there any last-minute details that you want to change or renovate around your home?
I might, but you know who to call.
Yeah! Ghostbusters!
No, Tony. No, not Ghostbusters. Solid State Construction.
Oh, yeah. Solid State.
Yeah.
Duh. Solid State takes pride in all their home remodeling projects. Solid State specializes in bathroom remodeling, kitchen renovation, window and door installation, custom design work, and more, including painting, flooring, drywall, sidewalk, decks. Get your free quote today by calling Nick at 814-397-7854. Solid people, solid product, Solid State Construction.
You know, Tony, with all these renovations from Solid State, I think we might have kicked up some bad energy around here. Yeah, oh yeah. Luckily, we know just the people to go see.
I know it this time. It's Ghostbusters.
No, Tony! Our friends at Cauldron and Thorne!
Wow. I feel really dumb right now, and I can't believe I didn't think of Cauldron and Thorne, the world's largest witchcraft and metaphysical shop, with everything a person needs to channel the spirit world.
Practice some self-care.
Find enlightenment.
Curse your enemies.
Protect yourself from your enemies.
Bless your friends.
Cleanse your space from negative energies. You can check out all the magical wares available at for these different practices we all love and enjoy at Cauldron and Thorne, 2724 West 8th Street, or online at cauldronandthorne.com. This week, we have an incredible guest for you.
I just did WERG this morning with Bill Page.
Oh, yeah?
So it's going to be on. Well, you want to talk about this later? So it's going to be
No,
on.
tell us.
Whenever it comes
Yeah,
out.
so
Yeah.
it's going to be on later. It'll be on tomorrow from 6 to 9. So I'm like the co-host of WERG tomorrow morning.
That's
so it's
so
like
fun.
the Friday thing, yeah.
I love those guys, too. They're, like, by far, hands down, my favorite radio station in Erie.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's fun. I mean, I went to Gannon for undergraduate and I also graduate school, and it was all down in Zern building, and it was like down in the kind of a dungeon. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm not super familiar.
It was, yeah. So I was there in 1982.
Ooh.
And so, the 80s college rock station, it was just the coolest.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
It was cool like this. It was like a kind of a
smaller setup.
It's in a
hangout.
Yeah, I think they play the best music, and I remember always in like my high school years on Saturday night we didn't have a CD player in my friend's garage where we'd like to hang out sometimes,
right.
And we would throw on Super Soul Saturday, and it made everything just so much better.
Oh yeah, well that's the nature of music, though, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's always good, and but they do an excellent job out there, and I feel like they have I don't know if they do Face Cookies anymore with Joe Cobda maybe.
I don't know.
But it used to be like a smaller radio style show, you know, that would have local people and they would showcase the music that he was into during that time rather than the more mainstream stuff that you hear on a lot of the other radio stations. And I always appreciate that.
Yeah, that's the beauty. That was really kind of the thing behind Two Man Happy Hour, too. Let's just get a show kind of. It's a podcast, so it's not right on the radio. But,
right.
You know, that's fun. We're just going to chit-chat, talk. We'll help the local scene, and that's kind of a wrap for us.
It's a big deal for people to get their songs heard, for sure. And I feel like it's very difficult at times, or at least it appears from the outside to be very, very difficult to get on local radio stations.
Well, we beg for people to send their songs to us.
Yeah.
Because we usually have 3 or 4 songs on each podcast.
Right.
So, like we've had some groups that, what do they call it? Though they premiered their songs on Two Man Happy Hour.
Yeah,
so
you just had Smile and the Ghost.
Yeah, I know. I love those guys.
Yeah, they're great.
Tyler used to live here. That was actually the inspiration of this show, was when he was doing Sink, Swim, or Fly. I would guest host with him every now and then.
Oh, how cool.
And then he started booking way too many shows, and I still wanted to podcast. So here we are.
Yeah, fantastic.
2
Well,
years
Tyler,
later.
I think Tyler has such a unique, and I love his stage presence. So.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Unfortunately, I never get a chance to see him, and maybe if next time I go to St. Louis, he'll be there. I don't know.
Right, yeah.
We were at the album release party last weekend at the 1020 Collective, and it was just incredible. The energy, the vibe, everything. Him and Josh Travis opened, and it was just a very cool show.
Yeah, it's good, and I think that like a lot of the local music is really good and good enough to be on the radio and be played with, you know, all the big Grammy-winning pop stars that are out there, you know.
Oh my, without a doubt. You know, I travel pre-COVID. And that's really when we started thinking about Two Man Happy Hour, was pre-COVID. So we were like, literally a buddy of mine and I would meet at the studio on Friday around 5, and we'd have a happy hour, have a couple of drinks before we would go out and see the bands. So we just got to, it kind of be, thing to, So one time we're doing this, and I said, we should have a show.
Record this.
I said,
Why not?
we should record it and let people, we'll talk about who's playing. And then, so we talked about it, joked about it over and over. And then, of course, COVID hit. Mm-hmm. And still hadn't really gotten the show up and running, and then there were no gigs. And then when the gigs started actually coming back, the two-man happy hour list that you see right now was supposed to be the afterthought to the podcast that you hear today.
Sure.
We just had to put the cart before the horse, because all these gigs were happening right after COVID and nobody knew.
Yeah.
So that's how, if you go on to the Two Man Happy Hour site or my Facebook site, you'll see pictures of me with the band in back, in St. Louis. That's what I did. But right after COVID, nobody wanted to go out. So I was like, hey, look, it's safe. I'm here.
It's okay.
I'm not getting sick. And so that's how that whole thing started. I thought, after a couple of months of doing it, that the showcase would come back. It would start listing all the shows again, and I would go back to just the podcast idea.
Right.
What never happened.
Yeah, it looks, I get sponsored things all the time about a new website that's trying to do something like that, but it doesn't seem like it's catching a lot of traction right now.
Well,
and it's so hard these days with the algorithm, you know what I mean? People are trying to promote shows or get everything, and if it doesn't get seen by the right people and enough likes or shares, immediately it's not going to get out to the masses, that want that information.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not a business person, like a marketing person or anything like that. I went for undergrad was communications and graduate was psychology, and But the thing that I've learned, like over and over and over with two-man happy hours. Now we've done it 5 years, so there are still people that are relatively close to me that are like, "What? I never even heard of it."
Yeah, I didn't even know you were doing a podcast.
Yeah,
Right.
and that you have to. You can never stop with the marketing. You
Right.
just got to keep going and going and going.
And
Yeah.
that's a case of, at least in our experience, fighting the algorithm as
Yeah.
well on social media. Like, people we see every day might not see our posts online, which is ridiculously frustrating.
Yeah, you work hard to cultivate an audience, and then you can't contact them or let them know anything's going on.
And it was a crazy thing. So we were, when we were thinking about it, we're like, you know, the venues are taking a risk having the bands put all this time to it. How, if nobody knows, how
are people
so that's
gonna
why
show
we
up?
had to end up doing the list. It was just to really, boost it up there to get people out again.
For sure.
Yeah.
And you guys host all of your podcasts on your website and stuff too.
Yeah, so the podcast, the Two-Man Happy Hour podcast, well, first off, the other man, a lot of people are like, well, who's the other guy, is Brian Waller. He's been, my band's sound man for years. And we were thinking of the idea, we're like, well, could we do this? So he runs the board. He's like Tony, what you do here for
a little
us.
bit of the technical side.
Yeah, so he well, not a little bit, all of it.
All
because,
the technical
yeah,
side.
Just like you. Just like
same
you.
thing. Yeah, right.
so he does that, and then I come in and do the show with him, and my son does all the the technical work for the site.
Nice.
But yeah, you can get on there, or you can do a spot like Spotify or wherever you get your
Yeah.
podcast too.
Apple and all those things.
Yeah, so we use I don't know who you guys use. We use like Wix for the website, and
We go Squarespace, and then we use Spotify for podcasters to
That's
upload
what we
all our
use.
podcasts. We
Yeah.
also have like a YouTube channel too, because we do the camera. We got a little bit of video action. It's kind of inspired a lot of other things in the making of the podcast too. Ours, I get very focused on one thing, and I kind of am like a dog and just won't let go. So it quickly advanced from a podcast that was just audio to video to cell phones to DSLR cameras and lights and now drones, and we're making a movie. We're making a couple music videos for a few local bands. Well, we've already made one. We're making another one in a couple weeks for Isolation Forest. I don't know if
right.
you've had them on. They're
I've heard that name.
They're very good.
yeah, they play around here. They do some different stuff. They're a little bit more of like an alt rock style band, female fronted.
Yeah.
Really good. They got a cool new single that's coming out, and we're gonna shoot a video for it in the upcoming weeks.
Why don't you guys just let us play it on the show, and we'll have you on, and you can talk about it with the artist.
Yeah, I would love that. I'm sure they'd be down too.
Let me know when it is, because unfortunately what happens, because we're really just trying to promote the community. The goal of doing Two-Man Happy Hour was to create Erie as like, I know it's not going to be the rock and roll capital
Sure.
but as a place to go where people want to have a good time with music. And I've been playing gigs here for 42 years, and as I'm standing on the stage at Oliver's, looking out over the sunset
Oh, it's
and the
beautiful.
boats, it's gorgeous, and I'm like, how is it that there is one hotel room even open in the city when we got this going on here?
Right. And there's no lack of talent either.
Right.
There's so many different places on the weekends, so many different shows, so many good like musicians just flourishing.
Yeah, and I literally, when I travel around the country, I go out and check out the live music scene, and they've really got nothing on us. I was just a couple months ago, I was in Las Vegas, and you're watching the kind of the party bands, and they're all excellent musicians. A lot of them run tracks and everything like that, but that's what you got to do for the masses. And we've got a band in town called Rainmaker, and I took a picture. And I sent them the picture. I says, these guys you could be in Vegas playing every day.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And they were like, oh, thanks so much for the compliment. But
Right.
it's true, 100% true.
It's crazy that we are definitely a tourist destination, but I feel like this part of the struggle and part of the blessing of being in Erie as being a small city, so people know each other. It's easy to make connections.
Yeah.
You know this person, you know that person, but we don't quite have the population to really support or really make like a ton of money doing this kind of stuff regularly.
Yeah.
We're not like Miami or Tampa or Vegas or some other bigger city with a bigger population where more people are looking to go out and spend some money and have a good time and listen to shows.
So we would love to get, you know, when in the summertime here, when it's too hot in Florida, you know, all the people at winter here go down to Florida, but when it's too hot there, we need them coming here.
Exactly.
Because they still want the beach and all that stuff. So, you know, it would be a great thing. And I think, you know, I really think that the music side of things, and I always go back because that's like, I think about it night and day. Sure. But, you know, guys like Tyler Smilo, that you see this all the time. They're appreciated more outside of your city than they are actually in. Mm-hmm. And these guys kill when they're around. Oh, yeah. And I love it.
Yeah, and a lot of those people, it's difficult for people to travel to those bigger markets, too, or to break into those bigger markets. Yeah. I feel like it's easier to come up in some ways here than it would be in Pittsburgh, where there's more artists, you know what I mean? Like, you're more likely to book a show as a new band or somebody who's up and coming.
Right.
Here, compared to a place that has a bigger population and a more density of artists and musicians and more competition for those spots.
And I also think that, like, you know, in a place like Pittsburgh or Cleveland, not only are you competing with all the other local artists, they consistently on like almost every day of the week have like a nationally touring artist coming in. You get like the huge names like the Taylor Swifts and the Billie Eilish's and like the Rolling Stones going to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
You know? You don't have that here. You're not competing with like all-time great musicians coming into your city for like a Thursday show.
Right. Yeah. On a Wednesday night.
People really just don't realize that's one of the biggest things that I get when people talk about the show, or if they go to the website and hit the PDF, and I can't believe in 1 week they're like, in the summertime it's in the 260s.
Oh yeah.
And I try to do like within a half hour, 40 minutes. I mean, that's how far I would think I would travel to see a band. I mean, unless it was, you know, a bigger group or I had plans, you know. But if I was on a Friday night and I said, oh, so-and-so's out in Girard, I'd go it. Yeah. I'd do it.
Right.
You know, or I would drive to Conneaut. That's not too bad.
Sure. Meadville.
And, so this week that we're talking, that starts off tonight, 137 gigs in and around the art, 51 right in Erie.
Wow. That's incredible.
That's a lot.
See what I mean? When you say that, nobody's like, holy. Everybody's like, I have no idea
that it's going on.
That there's 51. Do you have any idea that right in Erie, in the city limits, tomorrow night there's 22 shows in Erie.
Wow. On Friday night.
On Friday night.
22 shows. 22. That is, excuse me, that is absolutely incredible to me, that there are 22 shows around here. Because I don't even think of that many venues, you know? I think like 5 or 6 or 7.
Yeah, crazy, right? Yeah. So people don't, Erie needs to get the word out. I mean, you could do a live music wine tour. There people are playing at all these wines. You could do a distillery tour. You could do the Bayfront tour. There's so many different things. I wish we had a little bit more going on State Street right now. Because we lost some places, and what they did downtown was fun, and it's gonna be beautiful. I know all that, but we lost like Sherlock's.
Yeah,
you know,
that was a big one.
That was huge. We lost Coconut Joe's.
Right,
could have been. One. People came from all around, yeah, but so I'd love to fill those in. You know, and
a little bit more, and maybe a little bit outside, because I understand and I appreciate, especially after talking with Downtown Dave, what they're trying to do down there and make it more of a family-friendly area, you know what I mean, and bring more draw more people into downtown. Because there's a lot of people that want to raise a family and get a place and have kids and stuff like that, and you don't really want to do that downtown when all it's known for is parties and drinking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I totally understand and I respect that, but it is a big hit, and those places need new homes. And I think they're like people are working on trying to get it. And I think that also kind of comes into the development of Erie as a city and the different populations around the city. You know what I mean? Like we could have like a South Side and a downtown and a Point Park and all of those things that you see in other cities. You know, an arts district that's got lots of places to play your music and theaters and all of that stuff. It doesn't have to be right downtown. And we have tons of real estate for it.
Yeah, that would be such a cool thing. Like And I'm usually busy. I got the day job, and then I'm running around to gigs at night and doing shows and blah blah blah. Because I mean, I still have to. I still am a musician, and it helps get the bills paid. But you know, at 165 shows a year, plus the podcast and all that, you're thinking, oh my God, how are you going to put it all together? And so.
Yeah, it's definitely a balancing act, and I admire that a lot about bands because I know that it's very difficult and challenging to coordinate everybody's lives together to be able to practice enough to really make something that's beautiful and good. You know, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
And but the people are doing it. You know, people have that ambition and that desire and that want to creatively express themselves. And I think we started the show a lot along the same lines, which was to showcase the different people in Erie and the talent that's around us, whether they're an entrepreneur. We've had a few politicians on. We've had tons of artists and musicians and all that stuff. And it's really just to kind of elevate Erie, you know, bring it up, let people know that this town that I personally grew up in and always kind of looked down on, like, oh, you know, I can't wait to get out of here. I can't wait to leave. I can't wait. And I think that's a lot of younger people that are experiencing those kinds of things. But there's a lot of good stuff going on here.
It is, you know, I've lived in Erie for quite a long time, but I've also lived in Pittsburgh. I lived in Atlanta, lived in Bloomington, Illinois, which is near Chicago. Played in all those areas. And, you know, Erie has something that's very, very special. And I was, like I said, I was in St. Louis. There was, with the feeling, they got the Mississippi River, and that's terrific and everything, but it's not. To me, it wasn't home, and Erie has that when it comes back. It's you know, it's got those characteristic things of a small town, but we have that potential to, with I think the music scene, make it even a bigger place. Even.
Oh yeah,
you know?
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people, once they come here, they realize how nice it is. You know, you spend a weekend, you got the beach, you got all the different places to go, the different things going on, the activities, especially on like certain weekends when there's like a bigger thing going on, when they're having gallery night or something going on downtown, or 8 Great Tuesdays or whatever it is that you're into. You know, there's a space for all of those things.
I really have to kind of, because I always try to stay as positive as I can, but when I hear somebody say there's nothing to do, I'm thinking to myself,
it's like
are you under, you know, putting your head in the sand with what's going on? You're
missing what's going on. It's not that there's nothing to go on, it's just that you're not aware,
not looking. And you know, we just had the eclipse, which I thought was fantastic.
It was cool. It was a great time.
I thought it was fantastic, but I see people saying, "Oh yeah, it was nothing. It was a big buzz." Probably, you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, if you didn't want to have, you don't want to have a good time.
Yeah.
You know?
People, it was annoying too, because I was seeing people like saying like, oh, this happens every year, you know what I mean? Like, blah, blah, blah. They're closing down school. This is going to be inconvenient for me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, come on, dude.
Right.
Like, you're just looking for something to complain about. And unfortunately, that's just part of the human condition, I think.
I think you're right.
Some people engage in and other people try to avoid. You know, it just depends on your perspective and where you're at.
I think this school thing is probably I found it all to be incredibly annoying. I think it's the only thing that people might have a legitimate gripe about. But everything, just because, you know, it's tough on the fly to figure out what to do with your kids if you're not at a job.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You know, that isn't getting shut down for the eclipse. But everything else, it was like, oh, they said we were going to have 250,000 people. What a bust. This sucks. But if it would have been the other side of it, it would have been like, oh my God, the roads are crowded. This is awful. So it's like either way, it's awful. You know, I
Yeah.
just can't stand people like that. You
Yeah.
know.
Oh
It was
my
a
God.
awesome
But
experience.
you know what? That made me remember for when my son and daughter were little. Now, of course, they're grown and out of the house. But yeah, I forgot about the struggle of it's a late start to school. I'm like, just keep them home,
Yeah,
please.
right. Come on.
2 hours, really?
Letting them out early, all that stuff. Yeah, and I was really surprised by the traffic too, because I was expecting. Well, at first I was very hesitant to believe that we were going to be as backed up as people said we were, and then once it occurred, I was like, oh my gosh, like, were we just getting a bunch of propaganda? Were people just telling us this to keep us off the roads, or what was going on? But I don't know.
I had a few folks that said that it was a Y2K thing.
Yeah.
You know, everybody thought something was, I don't think anybody was doing that maliciously, but it was,
a little bit of fear.
yeah, a little bit of fear. Yeah, it
little
went a
bit of
long
fear.
way.
For sure. And I was like flying my drone around downtown, and there wasn't anybody on the roads. I mean, everybody that was going somewhere was there by that time. You know what I
Right.
mean? Later,
Right. And the normal Erie people who would have been normally driving took the warning. Hey, we're going to stay off. We're going to give it out to everybody else. And everybody else would already got there. Yeah, you're right.
But I guess there were some crazy spots too. Like I guess 79 was pretty wild, and down on the peninsula was jam-packed full of people. But those are, I mean, that's the places to go.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to someone where I work at, and they were like, they live out in Edinburgh, and they said, weirdly enough, the Walmart parking lot out there was very, very packed for the eclipse. People had tables out and were tailgating and stuff. So, you know, it's just like people found
was
their
a good
pockets.
Yeah.
I did an acoustic show at the Erie Yacht Club, so I got to hobnob with some, high society
Right,
folks,
yeah.
and we had a great time. It was everybody was into it. I was looking forward to seeing it, but I was literally amazed.
It was breathtaking.
Yeah, it was. That's a good way to describe it. Yeah.
I remember looking up and seeing it and like laughing. Like, what is the sun? Like, it's such a normal staple in everyday life. I know you look up, you see the sun, it's doing its thing, and to have it look completely different than it's ever looked ever in my entire life was just really something that it was mind blowing.
So somebody at the club at the yacht club that was talking about it after everybody's talking, had their opinions. He goes, so think about this if we had none of the technology.
Yeah, we didn't know this was coming.
We didn't know it was coming, like in the day, in the olden days. I don't know how old it was, but anyway, back in the old days, if the medieval times this happened, you would think
So the
something's
apocalypse.
gone.
Yeah.
Something just happened. And
It's over.
the world, yeah, right.
I remember reading something, because it just fascinates me, like history. I remember reading something that it was back in like those times, like 800-900s, that there was this huge battle going on, and they stopped it and declared peace because an eclipse happened during it.
Wow.
And they were just like, okay, this is a sign that we need to do something else. So that was it.
different.
You know, I've read
That's
multiple
crazy.
stories about like people like changing on like policies and how they live their life because, oh my God, what the fuck happened to the sun?
That was,
Like,
could you imagine the coincidence? God, give me some sign to
Right.
do this. And all of a sudden the eclipse hits, you'd be like, yeah, I guess that's it.
I guess that's it. Time to change.
Time to change.
Could I have missed
He does
it?
not like this. Yeah. It's good. And I think that Erie and all the other cities that were in the line were extremely fortunate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's super blessed. Because I don't know that I would travel again super far out of my way to ever see that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I like, there was a total path, I think, number of years ago, a guy I worked with, he went all the way, I think, out to Washington State, where it was, maybe. I don't know.
Sure.
But he did travel that far, but it was cool.
Yeah, I mean, I might do it again just because I didn't get I had plans to take pictures at my friend's house, and it was all cloudy out, and I was like, fuck this, I'm not going out there, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then right as it starts to happen, the clouds open up, and I'm like, oh, wait, I can actually still see this. I wish I would have went to my buddy's house because I had a cool hill in the right direction so I could get, like, people in the shot and the eclipse and then looking at it, and all this stuff is going to be amazing. But it just... the clouds were a little discouraging, but it ended up not being a big deal at all. It was amazing.
Yeah, great time. Great time in Erie, right?
Right.
Oh yeah.
Along with many more. And now that the weather's starting to change too, which is also like concerning, but also probably not the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Like the snow scares me. The lack of snow scares me a little bit.
Well, does it do something with the water table or something like that? So we're going to be significantly down or something?
I don't know. I haven't done much research. The water table is definitely higher than it's been, I think.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe it's down again. I remember a couple of years ago or a year ago, like down at Dobbins Landing, the water was really, really high. I could reach off the edge and like touch it if I wanted to.
Right.
I thought that was pretty unusual. But the world's always changing, you know what I mean? Things are going through cycles all the time, and it's just a lack of snow time right now, you know?
Yeah.
At least this year or last year and whatever other years. But I think
It's more like lack of snow, except for like 1 or 2 days where it snows 5 feet. Like we've just been
Yes.
lucky. Like Buffalo just has been getting crushed the last couple
Yeah.
years, and we've just been getting lucky not to get it.
Right. And that's also another draw too, you know, that being around and people being able to go up to Peak and Peak and Holiday Valley and Seven
Right.
Springs, all being within a driving distance, you know, long drive for some of them, but all around here. It's a interesting ecological, or like, I don't know if that's the right word, climate that we live in. To have
Yeah,
all four
well,
seasons.
like you said, you can be on the beach and you could be on the ski slopes, you know, within an hour of each other, you know.
Right.
The unifying factor, though, wherever you're going with that, live music. I will
Live
have
music
to say that.
at all those places.
All those places, all this, you know, up at Peak and Peak, you know, when they're doing their, you know, they have their lodges, they've got live music going all the time. I do
Right.
like the whole New York area, all the wineries. Summertime, it's going to obviously be on the Bayfront. I was keeping my fingers crossed that something cool was going to, do you guys know at West 8th and Peninsula where they used to have the Elephant Bar, or with Joe Roots and
Sandbar.
Sandbar gone now. God, I was hoping something cool would go there for Erie that would bring people in.
You know, I went to 1 or 2 shows years ago before COVID down when, what was that little shop that sold gyros and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah,
They
right
had-
on the thing there.
a great
They used to have
place,
like
yeah.
a venue.
Yeah,
in
they had a
back.
big stage in back,
Right.
and I don't know whatever happened to that. It's definitely a bummer because it was a big stage, big enough for like some bigger bands.
Picadillos or that was downtown.
Yeah, that's where the big bar is.
Chick-fil-A's.
Chick-fil-A's. Yes.
That was it. Yeah.
Chick-fil-A's on the bay.
I actually played on. That was pretty. It was a cool place.
Mm-hmm.
I played there with the Breeze Band. Well, my band and the Breeze Band played. It was a cool place. But I don't want to lose that prime area. You know, so many people drive to the peninsula.
Right.
We kind of want to put our best foot forward.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
like the gateway.
And
to
right
it.
now, it's all just it's all.
I know.
shut down.
So it's a bummer, but it's fingers crossed that it's going to go in the right way.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they can find either someplace that is good with only being open, and it is owned by Mill Creek right now, and they're looking for development or developers to come in, and I'm sure they'll offer them some sort of deal because it is hopefully owned by the government, so it'll be subsidized a little bit that a place can open there that can survive business-wise only being open during the summer.
Yeah.
Or something that is able to draw people to that area in the winter as well, which I think is going to be a little bit more of a difficult challenge. Because I think that's what a lot of those places struggled with. Like, whether it was the Elephant Bar or Joe Roots or whatever, you know, that winter time comes and those places are just empty and desolate.
Yeah, well, and there was a place. Now, you guys are too young to know this, but when I was roughly your age, there was a place. Do you remember the Peninsula Inn, or did you ever hear people talk
Don't
about
recall.
the PI? So if you go down to the Peninsula, across the street from Sarah's, where all those condos are,
Right.
was a gigantic bar. It had a band place inside, volleyball outside, and another dance floor outside for a DJ. They said, put a new PI there. It drew people from 3, 4, 5 states. People would come up with boats.
Oh, yeah.
It was like you'd watch the sun go down. You know, if you were with a young gal, you could walk
Right.
down the beach together.
course.
You know, all that stuff. But they unfortunately, it was sold, and they had to, they developed it with those condos. But if they could put something there, I would even love to see like a little walkway where it'd be 2 bars. You could walk over to the band side or walk over the beach side. So maybe you close the beach side during the summer and just have the band side during the winter.
Right.
And so.
Yeah, something that has a little bit of a way to continue to stay open or make income or keep people employed or businesses open, lights on, etc. during the winter would probably be good. Or you have just a summer thing going on up there.
I mean, it would be. I'm just, I've got my fingers crossed that some people make some good decisions, that it's going to be something that brings people into Erie. I think there are really some simple things we could do. Like, is there, I know that, that big smokestack down on the bayfront?
Yeah, I love that thing, actually. I work down there.
So people are all, tear it down or whatever, do something. I'm like, I say, leave it up. I said, it gives you, I said, I'd try to make it look nicer.
Yeah.
I'd make it look cool, give it some Erie character. I could see a photograph of that with the tower in the back.
Sure.
That'd be cool.
You know why it's still there?
Why?
Because there's a peregrine falcon that lives on top of it and hunts from that top.
Oh, right.
So
we call it Falcon Tower.
Right. And they can't paint or do anything to it because it's an endangered species.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But there's a pair of them that live up there. And I walk by that frequently from my way to work. And those things, I've never seen it. Like in the act, they're pretty impressive birds. They go like 180 miles an hour dive bombing straight down like at their prey. And I haven't been able to see that, but I've seen the leftover, that I call it like the killing field, because there's just tons of leftover birds parts that it didn't want, like all over that area.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's weird, but it's kind of cool because I have to park over there and I have to walk past it all the time.
Yeah.
And there's always like feathers strewn all over the place.
I wish there was some way. There's got to be some way they can think where it's not going to, because I'm a huge animal fan.
Sure.
I mean, I've got 2 dogs. We could have a whole nother show about my 2 dogs and how spoiled they are.
Yeah.
But I had no idea.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know that, but after working down there for a while, like you just kind of recognize things and start to see things.
I don't ever hope anything bad for anybody or anything like that. But how about we call it Peregrine Tower, though, at some point in time?
Yeah, name it.
Yeah, name it. And so you got to go see it. So now maybe we can't do anything, but we can put a big plaque that people can come or read.
Right. And give it a little bit of information. Let people know why it's still there. I mean, that's
Tony, just
great marketing.
You just told me that story, and now I'm not sitting on the edge of my seat, but that was a good story.
Right.
Yeah. Especially when they're making that whole bayfront area right up there like a big walkabout, like you know,
watch out for the peregrine falcon. Keep your eyes open for him.
Keep your eyes up and down for the dead bird parts.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's a Peregrine Tower umbrella for you.
Yeah, watch out so he doesn't come get you or drop something on you.
Yeah.
But it's really cool, and they're incredible birds, and that's why it's still there. I feel like I've had to tell people that a few times. People are like, why don't we tear that down? Why don't we do this? And it's like, unfortunately, as much as it may be an eyesore and we'd like to paint it or make it nice or whatever, that we don't want to mess up that bird's home.
I don't want to tear it down.
Yeah.
I would love to see it. My initial idea was to have a zip line fly over the bay from there to the tower, and then you can come down the tower.
You got a huge landing zone right there.
There you go, boom.
Yeah.
And so who knows?
You are not only a podcast host.
Yeah.
You've been playing music for quite a while now.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how you got started into music. What instruments do you play? What's your?
I started. So I've been playing for 42 years. Yeah, rock and roll. My first band in town was called Middle Earth. A bunch of guys that were into The Hobbit.
Lord of the Rings. Nice. Cool.
So it's called. It eventually morphed into a group called Endless Summer, which is a kind of a popular band. Then I was, still, playing in high school proms at Fairview and Prep and all these places that we played. Mm-hmm. That band was called The Scam. So The Scam. And then, from The Scam, it turned into, one of the guys left for college, and that's when we became a 3-piece band called Wolf Gordon.
Ooh, okay.
And so that was like a Jethro Tull day, but it was the drummer and I we used to call ourselves inventory control technicians at Paddens.
Okay.
So there was a Paddens on 11th and Peach Street downtown. And so we'd go to Gannon and then we'd walk up and we stock boys. That's what but we called it inventory control.
Yeah, exactly. 'Cause that's
right?
a way cooler title.
Right,
obviously.
exactly. So Wolf Gordon is, it's the name of a wallpaper book. And so we just say, that sounds like a pretty cool name. We'll just be Wolf Gordon. And so that was it. So Wolf Gordon, after that, I moved got married, started having kids. I moved to Bloomington, Illinois, came back. We played in Wolf Gordon a little bit, and then that became a band called, I started a band called Jackson Station that you guys were around for. So we played for a long time. That now has turned into a current band that I'm in called Jack Stevenson and the Buried Treasure Band. It's kind of like a Tom Petty, Bob Seger type thing.
Nice.
One of the other bands I'm in is called Johnny Karate.
Nice.
Are you
I
familiar
love
with Parks and
Rec.
Recreation?
I love it.
It's I'm 60 years old next month. So the one band, Johnny Karate, is garage rock, punk rock. We grew up with the Sex Pistols and the Smithereens and the Clash and all the Ramones. So we play that. That's what Johnny Karate does. And when I saw the episode of Parks and Recreation with the Johnny, we're going to chop something and sing something, I said, that's the Johnny Karate name.
Heck yeah.
So we're that. We have a band called I have a band called the Carnival Brothers, named after my buddies who own the Raskeller right here on State Street.
Yep,
the
just up the
Raskeller.
road.
So their last name is Carnival, but they spell it differently. So I always said, we're going to have a band after you guys because you're the Carnival Brothers. So that's that band. That's yacht rock. And then I played an acoustic duo, which is 60s, 70s, 80s, and solos. So that's it.
Awesome.
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that is a long progression. So throughout the history of you playing in Erie, I'm sure that you know a lot of the other old head musicians that have been playing forever in a lot of different bands around here.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I probably almost played in a band with everybody around here. It's hard to swing. It's hard to swing a cat and not hit somebody that you've been in a band with. So
it's interesting. I think that's one of the cool dynamics about being in a smaller town and having such a vibrant music scene is that a lot of these musicians are swapping. You know what I mean? Like, I play in this. I can play in this group. I can play in that group, and there's not really any animosity that I've seen or noticed from people like that share band members.
Yeah, it's all about planning. It's all about skis, just like everything else that you got to do. It's being a musician isn't your traditional 9 to 5 and come home, hey, how was your day at work? No, it's so. But yeah, as long as you plan, there are guys like Eric Brewer that plays with a lot of. Now I play every band I'm in. I'm not saying this to be braggadocious or anything, but I'm the singer and I'm usually the main person. So I know that part. That's how I can be. But Eric can play with 5 different bands with 5 different repertoires, and pull them all off. Mike Russell, a great friend of mine who's a drummer around town, he played with us last Thursday at the Raskeller with the Carnival Brothers, and he'll play, with any other band. So the talent for these guys to be able to do this is unbelievable.
Right, to know so many songs, to be able to play so many songs. I feel like there's a certain level that musicians reach where they're just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They can play anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's just, I hope and pray someday that I get to be at that part in my life. But when I watch these guys, you just, every time I watch like Eric Brewer play or, other friends of mine that I think are top notch, you just think, boy, it just is like a natural thing. It's like walking down where I'm trying to, make sure I get every note right,
Exactly, and I think that the more that you learn and the more that you play, the more comfortable and better you get. Because I mean, A, C, E, and G, and like D minor sometimes thrown in there, and you can play quite a few songs.
The number of songs that are, the GCD, EA, that little, they call them 1-4-5 songs, so that,
Right.
first chord, fourth, fifth chord. But it's, you would be amazed if anybody wants to play any times, you can easily play an acoustic set with all your majors, all your minors, and a few seventh.
Right.
Every song, just about.
It's I can't remember the singer's name who just got sued for copyright infringement.
Which one?
For Alan, or it was a Marvin Gaye song, and he basically said that every song can be made of these 4 chords, so how could he be copyright infringing, because all of these songs are already composed of these 4 things. And he ended up winning the case. I can't think of who it was. I was just listening to a podcast about it earlier today, when they were talking about AI music that websites are making now, and how they're talking about these difficult, challenging things of whose music belongs to who, and what is original and what is fake, and where inspiration comes from, and how we all kind of act as tools or inspiration for each other to make songs. A lot of the artists, a lot of the people that we play in our car or play when we're walking around turns into a song that maybe be inspired by that. And is that copyright infringement? Is that unique? Is that something else?
Yeah, I mean, and it just seems like it's treading on such thin, how you make those decisions. You hear, when I first start of hearing, somebody plagiarize something.
Yeah.
Of all people, it was one of my favorites, George Harrison, the big case with My Sweet Lord, or was, no, I think it was My Sweet Lord. And, I think it was the Ronettes. They sued, and he lost. He goes, maybe I was listening to it. Who knows? Where do you define that? Yeah, that heard me and inspired me versus I stole that.
Right.
I just think it's so much like, especially now with years and years of music, I always think of like this story. You just made me think of it with George Harrison with Paul McCartney when he wrote Yesterday, but it was the opposite. He woke up and it was just all in his head, and he was so convinced he stole it from somebody that he went to like all of his friends and is like, "Have you heard this before? Did I steal this?" They're like, "No, that's yours." He's like, "Wow, that's unbelievable." But it's almost impossible to not at least take a portion of what someone else has already done, whether you're intentionally doing it or not.
There's only 8 chords, right? At some point in time, they got to match up. But the one big thing is it's changed just because of the technology. It's changed. Comparatively, when I started 42 years ago, what we would need a truck probably close to, where we're at here in the studio to go and play a show that. Now I can fit basically in my Kia Soul. Right. The technology has got us that far, and it's just, it's an unbelievable thing to think that, how are they making money? Are they making it on downloads? It used to be you would tour to support your album, and now you got to make an album so that you can tour, and it's just a different.
And you gotta have enough of a following on Spotify and on Instagram and Facebook to be able to justify going to those tours.
Yeah.
And the barrier to entry is so much different than it was back then too, because people can produce a song for, however much I spent on this studio, you could record just about anything you wanted. You know what I mean? Plus your music gear, which is a lot less than it used to be, because you would need all that gear first, and then you'd have to pay a studio fee and then a mixing fee and a mastering fee.
Guy we have on the show this week on Two Man Happy Hour, Logan Batten, his band Logan Batten Dirty Leaf.
Right. He's been on the show here before too.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, he's actually been up in my treehouse as well. We do a springtime a summer unplugged concert series up in my treehouse in my backyard.
Oh my! Is this open to people can come and see it?
It could be. I haven't had any guests yet.
You let me know, and we'll put it on a Two Man Happy Hour.
Oh, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah, we have a good time, but we can't do. Obviously, it's outside, so we can't do it in the winter, and nobody. Right. Yeah. We got to wait till there's some leaves on the tree, so you're not looking at all my neighbors' backyards. But once the leaves come down, you're in the middle
Very
of the
cool
forest.
vibe,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Nice.
But yeah, he's been over here. I'm sorry for interrupting though, but yeah.
Well, Logan, so we played one of his tracks that he put out, I think, on an EP, and they played it it was just them playing a gig at Altered State, which, by the way, they're going to be there tomorrow.
Cool.
But yeah, and I said, what went into it? He goes, really, pretty much, we put a mic out. The mic's this good, and we were able to mix it. We were able to get a good sounding product out.
Right.
For, what we would have to save, a year of paper route money to even get an hour in the studio when I was a kid.
Right.
I think we're definitely in a golden age of, or maybe even just the start of a golden age of like local musicians in the live music scene, because like you just said, like it's so relatively cheap to make that music now that you just have more people that are just able to do it as like more on, I don't want to say like a hobby, but for some people a hobby, or you know what I mean? Like they're never expecting to like get big or whatever, but they have the resources to make the music and have that creative outlet and be a band that people want to go see. I just think it's an incredible thing. Like we're definitely in like a very, very good era for that right now.
Yeah. Oh. Plus, most of these mixers that people are using, at least at the bigger venues like the Behringer X32s and stuff like that, they all have the capability to record right onto themselves, you know what I mean? And then you have all your tracks already recorded, and then maybe you have to mix it a little bit, adjust it a little bit, because it sounds a little bit different live or on the speakers at the concert hall or wherever it's at compared to in your headphones or in your car.
Yeah.
But it's a much easier process than it ever was.
Yeah.
And there's so much information on YouTube or available from people who have been doing it for a little while.
Well, if we're always asking on Two Man Happy Hour for people to send in their songs, whether you're a band or Tony, if you just cut something down here and you think it's good and want to play it on the radio, we'll do it. It can't sound like an AM radio, so it's got to have a bit of quality to it. But we would talk to you about that. But if they, am I allowed to give a website out?
Oh
here?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, please. Yeah. That's why you promote yourself as much as you can.
If you do have music that you want us to play on the Two Man Happy Hour, where am I looking at?
There's a camera.
Here, go to live music chat 814 at gmail.com. And either I'll get it or Brian Waller from Wild Sound Productions. He does all the work with the music, and we would love to play your songs.
Do it.
Without a doubt.
We have a song for you though.
All right, what song?
It's Matt Craze, right?
Yeah.
Me and him and Dave wrote a song like almost a year ago exactly, called Blink-182's "What's My Age Again."
Okay.
We made a parody and we call it "What's My Wage Again," and it's just all about being a broke human millennial.
Yes.
And it's great. We made a video for it and we recorded it all down here. It's not amazing, so I don't know if I really want it to go on there, but the lyrics are top tier.
Well, I'll tell you what, send it in anyway.
Yeah.
We'll let you know. We'll listen to it. We'll say, I think it's going to be great. Well, I'm sure we will, and you can be the deciding factor.
Sure. I mean,
I'd love to hear it.
If you guys think it's good, definitely put it on the radio. It was hilarious. I want to make another song like that, but we've just been a little occupied with the short film and rehearsals and doing the other stuff that we got going on. But it was a really fun. I don't know. I grew up listening to like Weird Al Yankovic and stuff like that back in the day.
I love it.
Right. So we just had a really good time, and it took us, I don't know, a weekend. Brian Glosky came down and showed me basically the.
Oh, I love Brian.
Yeah,
he was on the podcast. He is doing some good recordings.
He's doing amazing recordings.
I very good.
I don't think he realizes how good the recordings sound.
And he was such a cool. I just met him. Met him that day, and he was a really cool guy.
Yeah, he came down, and Matt came down, and a couple of my other friends came down, and we recorded the song. And over the course of a couple of weeks, we finished up and added in some extra stuff and shot a video, and we're off to the races. We had a good time,
It was fun. It was a good time.
And that was before we had all the fancy stuff some of the fancy stuff that we have now. So maybe next one will be even better. Keep your eyes open for the next Everything at Once in-house band. We actually did a couple parody songs. We did
Can I be part of the band sometime?
Yeah,
I'll bring
dude.
some bongos.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be
hell
great.
yeah.
I'll just sit in the back. I'll put shades on.
It'll be awesome. Yeah, we'll make the video. It'll be perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Or tambourine.
Tambourine.
Dave, you can play. Do you play anything?
I do not, but I can keep
Tambourine.
He helps us with lyrics.
Tambourine.
He's our writer.
We're your rhythm
writer.
section.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
We'll get Matt to show up. He lives in the neighborhood too, so he definitely carries us on the vocals and some of the musicianship because I'm not much of a musician personally. I'm trying to learn piano and I played guitar back in the day. I know a couple chords and stuff, but it's good having.
I'll be your utility guy. Whatever
Perfect.
you need, I'll do.
Nice. We'll have a good time. We'll make a funny little song and.
We should start a band. We should have a band name. We'll have it
We always called it the Everything at Once House Band.
Let's do it.
So
That's good
it's
for
like
me.
the SNL House Band or the Late Night House Band.
Yeah.
So we're the Everything at Once Studios House Band.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
But I'd love to sometime. Next time we get maybe over the summer when we're a little bit more freed up or fall when things slow down.
Yeah, that's what happens with Two Man Happy Hour. Two Man Happy Hour starts because we're going to get into all of the summer things. Your 8th grade Tuesdays. Do you know you can do open mic almost every day of the week in Erie during the summer?
That's wild.
You know, and if you just know a few chords, like you just mentioned, you know a few chords. If you knew a few chords and wanted to sing a song, you could go down and do it. Have a good time. And you know, the venues that are having them, they're just like, come on out, have a good time.
Right.
Take it easy.
Do it.
Right?
Yeah, come chill. No pressure.
Yeah, because we're going to get so busy. Then every week there's a festival. That's why we got to have you guys on. No, you had me here. You guys got to promise that you're going to come on the Two Man
Awesome,
Happy Hour. And
Maybe we'll play the song then.
oh yeah,
That'll be fun.
we could have Matt come on too
Yeah,
because someday when he has a gig and you guys will be. So we usually have 2 guests, so you'll be one guest and he'll be the other.
Yeah.
Boom.
Be fun.
Yeah.
He's definitely hitting the marketing train hard right now, so I'm sure he'd love to.
Isn't he on a little tour or something? I thought.
Well, he's working on putting out he has his album release party coming up.
No, single
that's what I was
release.
saying.
Single release
Yeah,
coming
okay.
up, and he's working on raising money to produce the rest of the album.
Oh,
with
cool.
Sean Clark out in what's it called, Lonely Man Studios out in Waterford.
Yeah, Sean. If you ever go out to that studio,
Oh, it's amazing! It's beautiful.
Look for the 1965 reissue Fender Super Reverb.
Yeah.
Say Jack Stevenson wants to know that you're taking good care of it. I sold it. It was just getting too big for me to carry around, and it's too big of a sound. But it's my favorite amp ever. And he's like, "Oh, I really am." Like, you gotta take it.
Yeah.
So yeah, he bought it for me, and it was. He says he still has it. So
I'm sure he does.
Check on it for me.
That studio is amazing. It's
Take
beautiful.
a
It's
picture
like
of it,
life
send it
goals.
to me.
Nice.
Well, man, this has been super fun.
This really hasn't. I want to before we got to go. Thank you guys so much. I was so excited when you said you were putting something. I said I'd love to be a guest, and when you answered, I was just like, hot dog. I'm so excited.
No, we were excited to have you.
Yeah,
This
it was
is
fun.
Super
This is
awesome
great.
experience.
It's good to have you out here. I had a good time. It was nice to meet you. And check out Jack's podcast. Check out his music, his bands, all the stuff. Hit the likes, hit the follows. Listen to Two Man Happy Hour on their website.
2 Man Happy Hour.
Yeah.
I also have some merch.
Oh, look
there
at
we
the
go.
merch.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Happy Hour
Thank you so
stickers.
much.
We'll cover
right.
something out here with them. And what else? Oh yeah, send the songs to the website.
Send the songs. Check it
I'll
out.
have you text it to me so we can put it on the flyer when we make it.
Yeah, definitely.
And
www.twomanhappyhour.com. It's just where we have all the live music that's playing every week for free.
that's right.
Awesome.
Check it out. We super appreciate all the work you're doing around here. It's been a great night. Thanks for coming out and hanging out with us, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Thanks,
Absolutely.
Dave.
You have a great night.
Tony, baby. Oh, we got it.
There we go. Yes. Peace out, everybody.